Good evening, everyone, and welcome. This evening, we acknowledge that we are gathered on Treaty 6 territory, the traditional lands of many First Nations and Métis peoples. We honor their history, cultures, and ongoing contributions to this region. We are committed to reconciliation and to building a respectful relationship in the spirit of partnership and understanding. On behalf of the Camrose and District Chamber of Commerce, thank you for joining us this evening's by-election candidates forum. My name is Jennifer Fossen, and I'm president of the Camrose and District Chamber of Commerce. And it is an honor to be here as we gather together in the spirit of civic engagement and community dialogue. As a nonpartisan advocate for local business and regional prosperity, the Chamber is proud to host tonight's forum. By-elections may not always receive the same attention as a general election, but they are just as critical. They give us, the people of this riding, the opportunity to shape our representation and ensure our voices are heard where decisions are going to be being made. Tonight is about listening, learning, and engaging. It is your opportunity to hear directly from the candidates who are seeking to serve our community, your neighbors, your families, and your businesses in Parliament. Whether your priorities are healthcare, agriculture, rural economic development, or small business supports, tonight is a time to learn where each candidate stands. You might ask, why does the Chamber of Commerce host events like these? Because we believe in nonpartisan education, informing voters without influence or endorsement, informed decision-making, providing tools to help you vote with confidence and with clarity, amplifying the business's voice, ensuring the challenges and the needs of our local economy are a part of the conversation, community connection, encouraging respectful dialogue and broad civic participation, democratic accountability, giving candidates a platform to share their vision and respond directly to your concerns, trusted neutrality, offering a fair and welcoming space where democracy can do its work. And with that, it is my pleasure to introduce this evening's moderator, Shauna Feth, President and CEO of the Alberta Chambers of Commerce.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Shauna.
Well, welcome to this Camrose and District Chamber of Commerce Federal By-Election Candidates Forum. So as Jennifer said, my name is Shauna Feth, and I will be your moderator for this evening. So this program will give the candidates the opportunity to present their political platforms on issues relating to the federal government. As your moderator, I will keep a close eye on the content of the candidates' presentations. You know, we are all here to give the candidates an opportunity to express their views on these critical platform issues. All presentations will receive specified times with a warning signal when the candidate is running close to the end of their time, and that's being with two big clocks on each side of the stage to pay attention to. And so with that, I'd like to take a moment to familiarize everyone with the rules of order for the forum. These were communicated to participating candidates prior to this evening. So first of all, no signs may be brought in or posted in the auditorium attached to any walls, curtains, or doors. The forum was called to order promptly at 7 p.m. and the doors to the room have been closed, so anyone arriving late will not be able to be seated until intermission. We will adjourn at 9:30 promptly as well. So the candidates have been seated alphabetically, as you can tell, and will be at the speaker's table starting on the right facing the audience, and we will be introducing them in alphabetical order. Candidates will have 2 minutes to expand on their political platform, and the format of the presentation is at the discretion of the candidates, so it's completely up to them how they use those 2 minutes. The timer will give a 20-second warning, and a bell will ring at the end of the allotted time. No candidate will be allowed more than their allotted time. During the question period, I will read the submitted questions. Each candidate will have a chance to answer in speaking order. The candidate answer order will change in each round. Answers to the question will then be limited to 1 minute to maximize the number that we can ask during the time that we have allotted. We will move to the next question once those wanting to respond have been heard. And so not all candidates are required to respond to each question, but they cannot bank any time for future questions. The question period will be limited to a maximum of up to 100 minutes. Candidates will each have 2 minutes after question period to summarize their platform. And then as moderator, I will have final jurisdiction in all matters. So now a couple of guidelines for attendees. Please be respectful of the candidates presenting their remarks, as well as fellow community members here in attendance. Any disruption that interferes with the candidate's ability to speak may result in time adjustments at my discretion. Individuals causing delays or disruptions will be asked to leave the theater. And please note, for your own awareness, that the emergency exits are located on the left and right side of the theater. So with all of that, please join me in welcoming the candidates for this evening's forum. Welcome, everybody.
In Alberta right now is between Canada. We have it's the one that has the West paying to Ontario and Quebec, or whether it's one that wants to see an Alberta strong, free, and independent that can actually stand up and make a difference in this world and actually redefine Canada. And so my discussion tonight, my platform, is about a strong and sovereign Alberta and its independence. And I think there's a lot of things in Canada that we're not talking about in relation to the public forum. And I believe that farmers are producers and not polluters. I believe that oil and LNG are a requirement for human prosperity. I believe that reverse racism is racism. I believe the nuclear family is the greatest form of governance known to humanity. I believe that compelled speech is not a Canadian value. I believe that multiculturalism has failed, and I believe that there are only two sexes. And one of the challenges that we have here tonight is that there's a lot of trust, and I had my trust in the Conservative Party of Canada as well. But we are facing a threat in this nation of post-nationalism, and in this last 10 years, we've had Justin Trudeau commit to Canada being the first post-nation state. We've had a severe undermining foreign interference, and Justin Trudeau has told us that COVID would provide an opportunity for a reset. There has not been one challenge to the...
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan Bridges.
Good evening, everybody. Jonathan Bridges with the People's Party of Canada. First and foremost, I am a Christian, and I believe that Canada was founded on Christian values. With the People's Party, we believe that our platform is focused on freedom, fairness, personal accountability, and respect. So with all of that said, we see that there's not a lot of respect given to Alberta. We want to rework the equalization formula to create it to be something that is a hand up to provinces that need it, but doesn't maintain essentially a welfare state going forward. We also want to see Alberta be able to get its products to market with pipelines. going across the country and to ports. I think it is absolutely atrocious that we're bringing in foreign oil to a country that has more oil than just about anywhere else on the planet. When it comes to small businesses, mostly what we're trying to do is to start off with paying off the deficit, which then brings lower taxes, which puts more money back in your pockets that you can then give back to your employees, which would create a much more robust economy in this country and bring back what I've seen there. I know there's a strong appetite for separation in Alberta right now. My goal is to bring Canada back to a place where Alberta wants to be. And I do believe that is still possible. However, I will say this, if Alberta does end up separating, I'm staying in Alberta. And yeah, that's me.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie Critchley.
Good evening, everybody. I would like to echo Grant's comments, thanking the Chamber of Commerce for putting this together and allowing us to have this time to discuss things all in one place without any spin or tall tales told. Myself, I am running as an independent. I don't have a party because I firmly believe that party politics would be damaging the Canadian politiscape. We are not American. We are not a two-party system. And while I may have run as a centrist with conservative leanings, I firmly believe that the Conservative Party of Canada has lost its way, and I fully intend on standing up for my neighbors. When our previous guy sells us out to let the guy from Ottawa come in, that is not right. I firmly believe that we need somebody here who understands our local issues, who understands the issues of right to repair, who understands that we do need proper oil sands development. Yes, I saw you there. I'm well aware where you are. We do need proper oil sands development. We need proper investment towards our farmers, and we need the federal government to wake up and pay attention outside the western border of Ontario. So that is who I am. And that is what I am here for. I am here to stand up only for my neighbors. My voice, your words. I don't have anything else to say.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael Harris.
I'm proud to be here representing the Libertarian Party of Canada. And why I'm running in this election is because I am sick and tired of Ottawa taking advantage of Alberta on every level. We have equalization where our money is being taken away from our province and being sent out east, while small towns in this riding barely have enough money to be able to repair the infrastructure, whether that be roads or water development. And we have stuff where we have supply management, where our farmers are being locked out of an industry which represents a majority of this riding. And that also increases the costs of your groceries when you go to the supermarket. We're also dealing with high taxes and high regulations where businesses are struggling to get by. I was in Three Hills the other day, and a couple of businesses told me that they are on the brink of bankruptcy. And if their taxes go up even 1%, they'll be out of business and they'll be leaving this riding. And I'm sick and tired of that. And I also am here championing the idea of self-determination. A lot of people in Alberta are wanting to see a referendum on next year's ballot to see if we want to separate from this country. And I'm here to say that we are here to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley McDonald.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ashley McDonald. I'm the Green Party of Canada candidate. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight, and thank you also for the Chamber of Commerce for setting this up. So far, I'm the oddity at the table. I'm not a separatist. I do believe that Alberta is best in Canada. Maybe things aren't great, but we're sure a hell of a lot better off without. Right. Thank you, everybody. So ultimately, for me, the Green Party of Canada, we believe that change is possible, but we have to vote for it. We can't keep trusting the same institutions that have been around, doing what they've been doing for the past, 100+ years. We as a society are at a precipice. We're surrounded by growing authoritarianism in the world. We're grown by we're surrounded, sorry, by climate disasters. Like I said, the rise of authoritarianism. Our hospitals are stretched beyond capacity. Our society is at a breaking point in many ways. And I believe that we need to come together as a society and vote for change. Like, we are at a precipice and we have to make a choice. Do we want to go back or do we want to go forward? You know, we may hear a lot of rage farming from certain people, but we're not a party of that. We're a party of ideas, a party of people. We don't want to throw around a slogan. We want ideas from our leaders. We have ideas that we believe are the right ideas. So hopefully I can convince a couple of you to vote for us today. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre Polyev.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much to the chamber. Thank you to the fellow candidates, though I think that there are about 190 of them that are missing. Maybe that's the audience out there. But in all truthfulness, thank you to those who are putting their names forward, and thank you to the great Damien Couric, who's given me the chance to speak for the people of Canada and for Battle River Crowfoot. But most of all, thank you to Battle River Crowfoot, the region that feeds, powers, and protects this country. Feeds through the great ranchers and farmers, powers through the ingenious energy workers, and protects through the brave soldiers at CFB Wainwright. Makes me proud to be an Albertan. Now, in fairness, I'm from Calgary, born and raised, and Calgary's a little ways from Camrose, but there's a lot of shared values across this province and across this country. And my Alberta values taught me about faith, family, and freedom, hard work, helping your neighbors. And those values guided me to fight for the values of this region when I was leader of the party and member of parliament over a couple of decades, that I forced the Liberal government to get rid of their carbon tax. But, which is a local issue in rural communities, forced the debate on developing our resources, slowing down out of control immigration, cracking down on drugs and crime. And now I want to take the local issues and provide national leadership to fight against the electric vehicle mandate, because driving a pickup truck is a local issue in the communities across this region. To fight for law-abiding firearms owners, to fight for farmers, and to expand our military. These are local issues that require national leadership, and it would be a privilege to provide.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy Spady.
Thank you, Shauna. Thanks to Jennifer for the opening speech, and Aaron and Shauna at the chamber office. You've been very accommodating. I appreciate it. My name is Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I don't want to be Prime Minister. I grew up in the Three Hills area. My family has been in the area for many years. I've worked in the energy industry. I went to the University of Alberta and went for engineering degree and have been a petroleum engineer for many years. I've worked in the energy industry in this riding from Wainwright to Morin to Camrose out to Brooks area. Been involved in stimulating, in cementing, in constructing, in doing intervention in wells all about this province, and more recently in the emissions reduction field. My family originally came to the Battle River in about 1905. They wandered in till about 1920. So the Spadies settled the Battle River area between Castor and Alliance. They still live there to this day. I grew up in Three Hills. My wife's family is in the Irma Viking area. Our families are in the agriculture business west of Acme, Three Hills, Linden. So I understand this riding well, and it's been my entire life. I did get elected in 2017 to become the international president of the Society of Petroleum Engineers, which is about 170,000 people. And I got to see what the rest of the world sees about us and our technology. It also made me realize that the people of Battle River Crowfoot need a centrist option. I haven't seen one since about 1978. So I would really love to be your responsible representative in Parliament. I would love to be your member of Parliament. and sit on the government benches where I could participate in caucus of the government. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah Spanier.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah Spanier, and I am running as an independent. And one thing that I've heard all of these amazing people do is talk at you. They haven't offered you guys any solutions on what they're going to do. And that's what I want to do for you guys. I am not here to toe party lines. I am here to listen and to actually go get funding where it is needed. We have lost out enormously on the amount of funding because it has not been brought back due to party lines. And I want to bring that back for you guys. I want to help you guys build your small businesses and your agriculture and oil and gas. These are all super important issues here. And I'm listening, and the funding is there. It's just been left there. We have it, we can take it. We don't need to raise taxes to do that. And with me being an independent, I don't answer to any party. I answer to you guys. You guys are my boss, nobody else. There is no middleman here. So you can ensure that when you are speaking to me, we don't have to filter through anybody else. I'm here for you guys. I already have a draft of a bill ready to go to help afford the Affordable Food for All Act, which would lower the price of price gouging, which we are currently seeing through Loblaws and stuff. And I want to ensure that government spending is done appropriately, and we're cutting back on that. And like I said, I want to bring funding back to this area because it's there and we can grow this small rural community that we all strongly believe in. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine Swampy.
Nanaskama mamotao mau kisi manito. Hi and totemtik anochkiskao. Thank you so much to the Chamber for setting all of this up. And thank you so much to all of my fellow candidates for coming out here and for standing up for you. I know that Damien is in the crowd. I'll have you know I took down 4 of your signs that were still up. You're very welcome. I will not be reporting them as still up. If any of you see any of my signs out there, because there's so many, please take them down after everything's done. Let me know, I'll go get them. But as we all know, we're basically sacrificial lambs when we come out here. It's almost a guaranteed loss. So why are we running? We're running as advocates. We want to be a voice. We want to bring issues that are otherwise ignored by the government. Issues like affordability, budget deficit, economy and jobs, the environment, our healthcare, our housing, Indigenous relations, our management, or I should say proper management of natural resources, our mental health and addictions, our public safety and crime, taxation, dare I say, Trump, small businesses and seniors. And I'd also like to bring it to some of my fellow candidates' attention that we are all treaty people. So that separation you're thinking about has a few more people that you need to kind of talk to before that can even become a conversation. So thank you all so much. I'm also going to be here to listen to your concerns. What do you want advocated? Because we all know this run really isn't for a new candidate.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff Willerton.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jeff Willerton. I'm representing the Christian Heritage Party of Canada. If you remember one line from tonight, I hope you remember this. If you always vote for the lesser of 2 evils, you'll always have an evil government. Like wrestlers who practice their moves beforehand and go out for a beer after the match, the mainline parties often work together. Brian Mulroney, for instance, signed the Rio Declaration in 1992, leading directly to Justin Trudeau's economy-crushing carbon tax in 2019. It's been said by many that we wouldn't have had one without the other. In 2007, Stephen Harper, along with a certain minister named Pierre Poilievre, signed the United Nations Sustainability Act, leading to Chrystia Freeland declaring 1/3 of Alberta off limits to development a few years ago. And in 2009, the same Stephen Harper signed what was called the Codex Alimentarius, That strange sounding beast regarding the labeling of food and drugs paved the way for the red team's assault on our natural health products industry in 2023. So one sets up the shot, the other takes it. The cause and effect may at times be years apart, obscuring the connection, but that's how it works when you have two major parties that are wings of the same bird. At other times, their cooperation can be right in your face, like when not a single member of either party raised so much as a finger to stop Bill C-4 in 2021, which threatens you with up to 5 years behind bars if you haven't tell little Johnny that he's a boy. So to be clear, the Tories aren't the solution. They're part of the problem. They always have been. Both they and the red team have been working together for decades to land us in this climate change, carbon tax, Gaia worshiping, freedom of speech, crushing hell in which we find ourselves. How did we get here? By bouncing between the blue team and the red team for 158 years. How do we get out of this mess? Well, by changing course, obviously, but better parties can't take government without winning their first seat. In my closing comments, I'll tell you more about what I am convinced is simply the best outside of the box political option in this country, bar none. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Jeff. So now we're going to go into the Q&A portion of the forum. So in announcing the forum, the Camrose and District Chamber of Commerce extended an invitation to the public to submit questions ahead of this evening. So I just wanted to say thank you to those of you in attendance who submitted questions or anyone who submitted questions for our candidates for the forum. Candidates will each have 1 minute to respond to each question. We will move to the next question once those wanting to respond have been heard. Again, I will say candidates are not required to respond, but they cannot bank time for the next question either. So without further ado, let's jump right into the questions. So this first one, we're going to start with you, Grant, on this one. Is on economy and jobs. So many Canadians recall when a single income such as that of a postal worker, assembly line worker, or rig hand was sufficient to support a family. Today, that is increasingly no longer the case. So what specific measures would you propose to meaningfully improve affordability and economic security for everyday Canadians?
I'll tell you what, I think we need to look at immigration because our young people can't get jobs because new immigrants are subsidized in all of the entry-level jobs. Let's start there. Let's start by talking about making sure we don't have flights to Amritsar back and forth because we do have an immigration problem. It is driving up our housing prices. We had a long time Mr. Polyev telling us that there was no link between demand and supply in our housing and or the immigration issue. We simply have to look at that. I know this question is about the economy, but let's start in terms of where our kids and our grandchildren are in terms of trying to get on the ladder. There are many things that we need to fix. We need to repatriate our industrial base to this country. We need to incentivize entrepreneurship again, and we need to stop the flight of funds out of this country. The problem is that our people are leaving this country because we have deeper problems that we never talk about in this nation, and it's rooted in post-nationalism.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
So fixing the economy mirror a lot of what Grant said. I mean, there is obviously a lot of people coming to this nation, over 1.2 million a year for the last several years. It is crowding out people in the housing market. It is crowding people out of the jobs market. So those are two very big things that contribute to affordability. The other thing the People's Party would see done is lowering taxes. The average Canadian is paying somewhere north of 42% of their paycheck straight to the government. The American Revolution was fought over a 3%. We have got to the point of what I believe is ridiculous with taxes. So with lower taxes, then we'd have more money to go forward. And also bringing more jobs back to Canada. We need our industry back so that we can shore up our supply chains so we don't have a repeat of what happened during COVID where we couldn't find products to buy even.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
I've never done this sitting down speaking thing well, so I'll stand up. Yes, basing our economy off of immigration numbers, not a good idea. But before we worry about our economy, we need to worry about our government spending. when the federal government is bloated and sending out third-party contracts such as Veterans Affairs, contracting out care of veterans to Loblaws, we need to deal with it. The bloating has to stop. We need our middle managers to actually leave instead of just cutting the teeth. We also need our MPs to stop spending excessive amounts of money when we have one person who spends more than the next two of your money. Then we can look at cutting our taxes and making our employment that much easier to manage.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
So first and foremost, we need to get rid of the welfare state. Main issues number one is that this government is spending way too much money. We are both in debt and in a deficit at the same time, where we are making no money. At the same time, we are paying the highest amount of taxes that we have ever paid in our entire life. So we need to be lowering the amount that our government is spending. I see all the time where money is being wasted in random projects across the country where they're not actually going towards the services that are needed here in this riding. And to top on to that, after we got the welfare state, we need to get rid of all taxes here in this country, starting at the income tax level, going towards business taxes, because you pay taxes on everything that you do, whether it be on your paycheck, when you go to the store, driving your car, anything. You are paying taxes, and we want to fight to get rid of as many as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
That was Michael. It's my turn now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I feel bad. We got your names turned around on the script. So my apologies, Michael.
That would be Ashley again.
Okay. You have to have one faux pas. It can't be perfect, right? Sorry about that, Ashley.
Just so we're clear, when we go into the ballot box, I'm Ashley MacDonald. Just think of the golden arches. It's close enough to my spelling. It'll work. All right, so basically for me, the Green Party platform believes in a restructuring Canada's resource economy, basically to establish national strategy reserves and critical resources, phase out raw resource exports by prioritizing domestic reserves, processing, and manufacturing. That will in turn create more jobs, create more industry within Canada, take our raw materials out of the hands of foreign governments who can control everything and sell it back to us at a higher cost. Then in addition to that, we are also very firmly against, wanting to end poverty. We'll do that through a series of measures such as strengthening the Canadian disability benefits, creating programs for families through poverty reduction incentives, as well as the creation of
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
The cause of inflation is government. Cost, yes, it's very simple. Supply and demand. The government is boosting demand and limiting supply. They're boosting demand through out of control immigration and money printing that adds more money and people than new products for them to buy. And they are restricting the supply of things by blocking everything from home building to natural resource development. So what's the solution? We need to cut back on immigration. In fact, we need to have negative population growth for the next several years as more people leave than come. We need to slash bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, corporate welfare, and handouts to fraudulent refugees. And we need to unlock our resources to produce cheap energy and affordable homes. So let's produce more stuff rather than adding more people and more money.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
Thank you. I think one of the reasons I took this position to be the candidate for the Liberals is because I'm impressed with the leader. I come from about a 35-year career in business, and I'm very thankful for it. And I like Mark Carney's government and his approach to leading from a position of experience. He has been the central banker for 2 major economies in the G7. This is significant. And when I see his actions now, I'm impressed. So for me as a farmer, I want commodity prices for my crops to be good And he is working on that by getting the economy going east to west, as well as unrupturing the foreign markets. Also, as an oil and gas guy, I want my product shipped to Tidewater, and Bill C5 has already started the movement in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah?
So my big thing on affordability is actually bringing funding back. Like I said, we need more support for farmers. There are grants, there's funding out there that I am more than happy to bring back for you guys. I have something called the Affordable Food for All Act bill, which would reduce the cost burden of groceries on everyday Canadians. And it would ensure that edible food waste still gets put back into food banks and stuff like that. So you don't have to worry as much about how much your grocery bill is going to cost. I also want to put forth a second bill that would actually limit government spending. The $187.8 million that our government just spent in taxpayer dollars, we need to cut that big time. And I want to be the one to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine?
Who will build an economy that works for the people, not the powerful? The heart of the economy is the working people. When people are feeling this worried about whether they can pay the bills, who is the economy really working for? And things are about to get even tougher. Under the Liberals and Conservatives, the powerful and wealthy keep getting further ahead, and the rest of us keep falling further behind. For them, the economy is about investors and corporations and their profits. And that doesn't work for me. It shouldn't work for you. I'm focused on growth that works for you and your family, where you have a chance to get ahead. Right now, that means a plan to buy Canadian and build Canadian, to fight for every job, including jobs in the public sector. Saving Canadian jobs is so vital, especially considering.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff?
Thank you for the question. Ladies and gentlemen, the Christian Heritage Party is the only party that I'm aware of that advocates eliminating income taxes and business taxes and replacing them with a consumption tax called the fair tax. That will absolutely leave more money in each of your pockets to make groceries more affordable. I think that was the question, where the question started. Economy and jobs, anyways. So this will stimulate the economy, and it's been said that the first country that goes down this road is the winner, because everybody's going to want to be there and open up their businesses there. I think it would be just a fantastic idea, but that's on the taxation side. But on the spending side, Margaret Thatcher turned England around. Javier Milei has turned Argentina around, first balanced budget in 128 years. There's another government, I don't know its name, down in El Salvador that's turned El Salvador around, believe it or not. It can be done. We can downsize government and balance the budget and make it.
Thank you, Jeff. So the next question, we're going to start with you, Jonathan, just to give you a heads up. So this one's immigration and population growth. So Alberta's population, we've already heard some of this already in some of the answers, but Alberta's population is growing rapidly, raising concerns about pressure on public services, the treatment of newcomers, and the ability of infrastructure to keep pace. Do you support increased immigration, and how would you ensure newcomers are protected and supported while ensuring services can meet the demands of a growing population?
The People's Party's position on immigration at the moment is that we need to actually just press pause. We shouldn't have more people coming to a country that can barely keep our own fed. We have veterans that can't afford a house to live in, can't afford food to eat. It's unconscionable. I do believe that there is a place for true refugees if they need assistance to come in while there is unrest in their home country, but I also believe very strongly that when that unrest is done, they should be going back home. We have a great country, and it's not going to stay that way if we just keep letting absolutely everybody in without any qualification at all. That being said, My family was immigrants once upon a time, and I'm not opposed to controlled immigration.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
Well, I think Jonathan said it best, controlled immigration. It definitely needs to slow down. We are not in a position right now to take care of our own, much less other people. But again, before we can look at immigration and costs, we need to deal with our government bloat before we can deal with immigration. We need to deal with all those middle managers who give immigrants stacks of paper this big when they are doctors, they are the skills we are desperately needing, but our government fails to acknowledge their skills, their education. Yes, we need to slow down immigration. Stopping it entirely is a bad thing. Not acknowledging the skill sets that people bring to continue to deal with our country and the issues we've got is also something that needs to be dealt with. We got to cut the government bloat. Then we can afford to feed everybody.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
Honestly, I'm going to agree with Bonnie on this because a lot of the times people like to blame immigrants for a lot of problems in this country. And most of the time, you can probably blame the welfare state. A lot of the times, our government is just handing out cash to new people in this country. I think there was a bill that was recently passed in Ontario where our Doug Ford is given around $10 or so billion for hotel development for newer people coming into this country. That is, in my opinion, a complete waste of money. We need to be able to, if people are wanting to move to this country, they need to be bringing their own money to come here safely. And I personally believe it should be the decision of Alberta to choose who is coming into this province and who is not. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay. So for me, immigration is one of Canada's greatest strengths. It brings new skills, energy, ideas, and cultural richnesses to our communities. And at a time when many of our regions are suffering labor shortages and aging populations, immigration can help build a more vibrant, sustainable future for newcomers and longtime residents alike. But immigration must be planned and responsible. The Liberal government made a serious error when they took the advice of McKinsey and Company and set an annual immigration target of 500,000 people with no plan on where these people were going to live, what communities are going to go to, and how we are going to build and adapt these communities to all these newcomers. There was no published targets for temporary residents until just last year. We believe in learning from these mistakes. Immigration targets must be thoughtful, transparent, and aligned with Canada's real capacity and long-term planning for both temporary and permanent immigration. Immigration is great when it's done right.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
I agree, and we did it right for 150 plus years, whether it was the frontier pioneers who came and settled the prairies, or the great Italians and Portuguese who came and built roads and founded families across Canada, or my wife who came as a refugee. Her dad picked fruit in a farm field so that he could pay the rent, and now they're a successful story. But over the last 10 years, the Liberals have adopted a post-nationalist ideology. They call it the Century Initiative, to triple our population, to favor globalist interests and multinational corporations at our expense. They've driven down wages with excess temporary foreign workers, with abusing the international student program and allowing fraudulent and often criminal arrivals to come in and abuse our system. That abuse must stop. We must have more people leaving than coming over the next several years as we bring down our population and allow our healthcare, our housing, our job market.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
So I love meeting new Canadians and I love working with new Canadians. They are a whole group of energy that you don't often see. But we have to balance that with people who originally were here, people like myself who came later, and it all has to work together. And I do believe it's time for a little bit of a pause and an adjustment on the immigration. I believe we went a little too rapidly. I'm involved in the University of Alberta and in the Petroleum Engineering Advisory Council. And one of the things that has given the universities all across the country a lot of grief is this student visa fiasco. So I believe the Carney government is presently pausing things and looking at things, and that's critical. If I put myself back in my shoes, my family arrived in the Battle River Valley smelling of garlic sausage and getting off the train speaking all kinds of funny languages. And we were the backbone of this country. So I think we need to continue, but it has to be a balanced approach that needs adjusting.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah?
I believe in putting Canadians first. I believe that we should lower immigration levels just a little bit, but also reinvest in Canadians. We have tons of people who are living here who have untapped skills, and we can create programs that could reinvest into our economy. If we create programs, more programs, where doctors can come from different countries, but they're already here, and reintegrate faster, we can have more doctors, we can have more healthcare professionals. You know, we have people here who can help us, and we need to focus on immigration with balance and compassion, but we also need to recognize that we do need to slow it down a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine?
I think a handful of my colleagues up here need to check their privilege. Immigration is vitally important to our country. And when you look on a global scale, there's a war happening in Gaza, in Ukraine, and significant unrest in the United States. Where will these people be able to go? We should be welcoming people here in Canada. We should allow them to come here. And that doesn't mean that there won't be programs or services for everyone else. It's not pie. It doesn't mean that it's cut and they get everything and you get nothing. That's not the way it works. Canada is vast. There's more than enough area. This riding is vast. It takes me 8 hours just to get across it. There's more than enough space. And if anything, the farmers need hands. Every farmer I spoke to needs help.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff?
Thank you, Shauna. The Liberals have done everything they can to ruin this country. They tax as much as they can. Thank you. I don't have much to say this time around, so keep it up. I'm just kidding. No, they've done everything they can to ruin this country as fast as they can. They tax as much as they can. They spend as fast as they can. They give away as much money as they can, and they open the doors to everybody who wants to come here. I believe in controlled immigration, but I believe that there needs to be a pause on immigration until we get our own house in order and get things under control here. So I agree that people in war-torn countries, my neighbor Catherine here, they would not be refugees so much as, they would not be immigrants so much as refugees. And so there's an argument for that. But we need to make a complete pause on immigration at this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant?
I'm going to stand up here because my legs are sore. Well, I'll say this. My family is an immigrant family. We pioneered land about 125 miles from here. And I'm a very proud Western Canadian. I'll tell you this, you guys are being sold a bill of goods here tonight from Mr. Poilievre because he's talking to you about unleashing our energy sector. I would like to know how Mr. Poilievre is going to do that when he refuses to tell us whether he'll leave the UN Climate Accord that completely restricts our carbon. I would like to know about inflation. Inflation is government. No. Inflation is government debt. And the reason we have lost 40% of our spending in this nation is because of rampant spending that is destabilizing our country. And that is exactly why we have a US president looking at a post-national government that is careening towards destruction. We need to have deeper.
Thank you, Grant. So this next question, Bonnie, we're going to start with you. This one is around government accountability and democracy. So given that several candidates do not reside within the boundaries of this riding, what does local representation mean to you? And what specific actions will you undertake to ensure the perspectives and priorities of the constituents are authentically represented?
Oh, goody. You found my favorite one. I absolutely 100% agree. If you want to run for an area, you need to live here. This longest ballot crap, that's got to stop. We need one person who will be the official agent. That way we don't have one person sponsoring 200 people. But first and foremost, you don't know what's going on here unless you live here. As for government accountability, I absolutely would use my position as a swing vote within a minority government to push for government accountability. I want to release everybody's spending. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
I believe first and foremost, you have to be able to live in the riding to be able to represent it. Number two, you have to be able to show up to all the events. You have to be able to go from town to town. This is a big riding, and talk to every single person in this riding that you can. And I've seen, out of the 200 or so candidates that are running in this election, I don't think even 75% of them are stepping foot in the province. And that's got to stop. I don't know what Thomas, or whatever his official and agent name is trying to chorus in our writing here, but that's got to stop. I'm sorry. And for representation and accountability for my bid for the member of parliament position would be, I'm not running for a wage. I'm wanting to be a member of parliament for free. I'm not willing to take a wage. I don't want a pension. I want to make sure that at the end of the day you have good representation, and I'm doing it for free. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Well, right off the bat, I'll admit, I do not live in this riding. I live in Red Deer, so I'm adjacent to the riding. I'm not thousands of kilometers away, but no, I do not live in within BRC myself. One of the quickest, easiest ways possible to make sure something like this doesn't happen with a long ballot committee is electoral reform. The Green Party's been pushing for this for decades. The Liberal Party campaigned on it in 2015, came into office swearing this was the last election by first past the post, gave it to an inexperienced junior MP who had no idea what they were doing, then underfunded it, under-advertised it, had tiny little town halls that hardly anybody went to, and then just poof, it disappeared. So now here we are, 210 people, most of them on up here as a protest because they're angry at first past the post. Now it ignores people. This system needs to be changed. A Green MP would fight for that every day that they're in Parliament.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Thank you very much. Look, I'll be honest, having a leader of a political party as your local member of parliament is a trade-off. On the one hand, the leader, in truth, lives in hotel rooms, in low-budget hotel rooms across the country. I can assure you, they live in St. John's, Newfoundland one night, and in Sault Ste. Marie the next, and maybe Port Alberni after that. At the other side, though, is that leader can bring a very powerful megaphone to the local issues of the community. For example, getting a pipeline built from Hardisty over to Prince Rupert or to Kitimat, that is a local issue that requires national leadership. Protecting your right to own a hunting rifle, that is a local issue that requires national leadership. Fixing the prison in Drumheller is a local issue that needs national leadership. I will provide that.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
I'm Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I don't want to be Prime Minister. Kudos to you, Pierre, for being. I really have had a great career. I've been part of this East Central Alberta community for my whole life, and I really want to just represent the key issues here onto the government benches. I feel very strongly as an energy, oil and gas guy, I've known what happens here in the exploration and the coal bed methane here across this region, in the deeper Duvernay to the south, and I've watched the production grow, the reservoirs, the field engineers who do the work, the service companies. I want to see that prosper. And I want to see the agriculture sector prosper. I'm not asking for much. I'm asking to be your local responsive representative on the government benches. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah?
For me, I want to be your representative. I don't want to be a representative for anybody else other than the people of Battle River Crowfoot. I do not care what side of the political spectrum you guys are on. We are all on different sides of the spectrum, and that is a-okay. But I am here to listen and to help and to bridge the gap between this political spectrum that we are continuing to see a divide in. It is time that we actually pay attention and listen to what each other are saying and understand that we are essentially all fighting for the same thing. We're just saying it a different way. And I want to be somebody here who can be accountable, be representative for you guys. And like I said, at the end of the day, you guys are my boss. Nobody else. I answer to nobody else but you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine?
Well, I'm from Musqueam, Alberta, and once upon a time that used to be a part of this riding. It's no longer a part of the riding. It was back in 2015 when I ran against Kevin. Thank you for being here. But I mean, I'm a hop, skip, and a jump away from the border. It literally is 2 minutes walk from my house. But with all that said, I'm an hour out of Camrose, or 40 minutes out of Camrose, but Drumheller is 2-3 hours away from you guys. So I don't know if that matters all that much. I'm not in Ontario, I'm not from Ontario, and I come to the riding, or I come throughout this entire riding on the regular. I'm here every other day, so I'll still be here, even after all of this.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff?
Ladies and gentlemen, I call Airdrie home, and I also don't want to be Prime Minister. But the issue of, and of course I will relocate here in a heartbeat if I win. That's not a problem. But the issue of first past the post came up. The Tories, the issue came up in Parliament, and there was a free vote on it not long ago. And the Tories, almost to the man, only 3 dissented, but the Tories resisted and rejected the idea of even talking about first past the post, proportional representation, which would help small parties like ours get a voice in this country. So they're good with first past the post because it works for them. That's not good for the country. It's not good for democracy. But anyways, I can hardly believe it was a free vote. I think they were whipped. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant?
I think the people of Battle River and Crowfoot are interested in the truth. The truth is the Conservative Party voted for Bill C-4 that will criminalize you if you stop your child transitioning. Each of you will go to jail for 5 years. Pierre Poilievre talks about faith, family, and freedom. That's a sham. And I think the other conversation we continue to need to have is what is really going on. What's going on in this country is that our sovereignty is being betrayed on a national level. And the only response is the people of Alberta that have the faith, the resiliency, the strength, the wealth, and the grit to actually stand up to the selling out of the nation. And so while we're talking about this tonight, remember, we are talking about 2 Canadas, because what's happening in this country is a pandering to Ontario and Quebec to get this gentleman elected, and you're paying the price. That's what's going on.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan?
So electoral reform, it's been a problem for quite some time where we see large portions of this country voting, and actually more, I believe more votes for the Conservative Party than the Liberals in this last election, yet the Liberals have the government. It doesn't really make sense that that's the case. I will be honest, between raising 5 children and working full-time, I haven't been able to go out and hammer out the details on electoral reform, but I would definitely bring that up before Parliament if I was elected. And for those who are interested, I was born and raised in the Battle River Crowfoot area. I spent all of my life here. So it's very near and dear to my heart, and I very much want to stay here and see it become a very prosperous region in this country of Canada.
Thank you, Jonathan. So next question, we're going to start with you, Michael. This one is around healthcare and social services. So Canada's public healthcare system is a core part of our identity, yet many are concerned about the quiet rise of privatization, services being outsourced, user fees increasing, and private clinics becoming more common. Do you believe this trend threatens universal healthcare? And what would you do to protect and strengthen our public system?
Thank you. First of all, I want to point out the Libertarian Party is in favor of private healthcare. I personally believe in a little bit of a hybrid system where we still have free healthcare for those that can't afford basic access to healthcare, while still allowing healthcare for those that can afford it. If they want to pay for it, they should be able to get it fast and easy. Because right now, there are currently waits for up to about 8 hours on average just to see a doctor, not to get treatment, but just to see a doctor. And that's across the board in this communal system that we call the public healthcare system. And if people are able to afford better healthcare or be able to get it faster, why not? We can still keep our public healthcare system, but why not let those that can afford it get better healthcare? Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay, so here in Alberta for a number of years, we've heard about, privatizing healthcare. Our system is broken. Our system is being attacked. It's not broken by its very nature. It's being attacked by forces that want to privatize it. And I get what Michael's saying about how he supports a blended system of sorts, where there's hybrid system of a blended private and public. But if we don't have enough doctors and nurses and social workers and psychologists and pharmacists now, we're going to have even less when the for-profit side can pay them more than what the government can pay them. So this doesn't actually fix the system. It's going to make it even worse. A green government believes that everyone deserves a doctor, deserves access to pharmacare, deserves access to dentist, to dentistry, mental health services, therapy, and so on. We would pass a primary care health act that would guarantee every citizen's access to these much.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Quite frankly, it's the Liberal government in Ottawa that has denigrated our healthcare system. To start with the out of control population growth of particularly the last 5 years, our ratio of patient to doctor is now worse than it's ever been. We need to cap immigration to ensure that we can add doctors and nurses faster than we add people. Second, we need to grow our economy faster because our federal healthcare transfer grows at the same rate as our economy. And that means unleashing our resources, lowering taxes, and making our economy stronger. And third, we have 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses who cannot work because they can't get a license. We have a red seal that's already in place for the trades, a national license for the licensed trades. We should do the same thing with a blue seal based on a high standard that immigrant doctors can take a test, prove they're qualified, and get to work in our hospital.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
Thank you. I love the Canadian healthcare system. I've been a user of it my entire life, except for when I was out of the country. And I think we have the greatest system on earth. And frankly, the present government and the work they're doing to make sure it's consistently across all the provinces is a lot of work, and I'm happy the way it's working. Myself, I have 2 new knees brought to me by the Alberta system. And I want to ensure that if I live in New Brunswick or Ontario, as a Canadian, I want to make sure I have consistency. So to me, the system as a whole needs to continue as it is and get better with time because it is one of the best in the world. I've lived out of the country a couple times in the United States and come back into our system, and I can say our system, given that we have our neighbors to the south with theirs, is certainly a preferred system for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah.
I want to say thank you to Pierre first for elaborating on my point about increasing doctors, international doctors. So thank you for that. glad we agree on that. But one thing I can do as an independent is, this is exactly where my leverage comes in place in a minority government. I can go in, and if somebody wants my vote, I can say, yeah, sure, I will give you my vote, but I want to write in that we can have something that will benefit the people of Battle River Crowfoot. You want more rural health supports? Sure, let's write that into the bill. Let's make sure that happens. Let's use the leverage that an independent would have in a minority government to get the things that we need in this province. We need more doctors, we need more healthcare workers, and an independent is going to be a great way to try and get that here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
An estimated 6.5 million Canadians don't have a doctor, and the problem is only getting worse. And when Pierre Poilievre was in government with Stephen Harper, he cut 43.5 billion in healthcare transfers. Nearly 4 million Canadians will have diabetes medicine for free, and nearly 10 million Canadians will have free birth control because the NDP fought for it. Almost 3.5 million Canadians can see a dentist because the NDP fought for it. At a time like this, Canadians want to fight for the public health care more than ever. And we will take steps to crack down on privatization. We won't sell out our health care to American style, for-profit system. NDP promised 4 years ago to fight for pharmacare and dental coverage, and we never stopped. And now millions of people will benefit. Next.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Socialist governments and liberal governments promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars. But at the end of the day, as Vladimir Lenin said, socialism is the first and necessary step on the road to communism. So it's where these things go that you have to be concerned about. Nice to have everything for free, but nothing is free. And the CHP government is committed to maintaining our universal healthcare insurance, but like, it doesn't matter to me who delivers it, as long as it's delivered in a time free, first of all, and in a timely manner. Did I say free? Sorry about that. Anyways, so we need to maintain the best of the universal healthcare system that we have. That is our insurance system. But again, it really doesn't matter who delivers the service as long as it's done in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
Well, I find it very interesting that we're speaking about a provincial issue in a federal election debate. I'd remind you that the only relevant issue in a discussion about our healthcare in Alberta is the fact that we're submitting equalization payments to Ottawa, and we're dropping about $10 to $12 billion a year. If we actually had that money, we could have an amazing healthcare system. And where that money is going is to support the broken infrastructure within this nation and to prop up Ontario and Quebec. So if you really want to talk about a healthcare system that's working, let's actually look at where that money's going that's from Alberta. And I celebrate our healthcare system. I celebrate the universal healthcare system. It's led the world. But let's be real about the economics of this, because it's equalization that's the problem here, and the country's broken. And we are going down the drain economically. Inflation is because we're burdened with debt, and there's no plan.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
Grant, I'd like to thank you for reminding us all that it is the province that chooses how to spend the money. I need each and every one of you to go out and talk to your MLA and ask them why there is so much bloat on the top of AHS. There are way more managers than there are workers. It does not work that way. If my company worked that way, we'd never get anything done. As far as private versus public healthcare, I truly believe that we already have a two-tiered system. We have lots of people spending lots of money outside of our country to get care faster. If we allow private enterprise to provide these care inside of our country, that keeps more money in our economy, which then increases our economy and gives everybody else a better chance at making, it's tax revenue, it's everything. It keeps the money here where it should be.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
Well, first off, I want to pull everybody's attention to the fact that Mr. Poiliev totally skipped the accountability portion of the government accountability question. But carrying on, I do appreciate that he reiterated my point about immigration and not the Canadian government not accepting the governments and the qualifications of people. However, healthcare is provincial. I hate to say it. I want to help. I want to fix it. It's provincial. I personally would love to see it go federal because I've gone province to province to province with my job. And suddenly the things I can do in Alberta, I can't do in Saskatchewan. I can't do in BC. I can't do in New Brunswick. I would like to see it come back provincial so that we do not have individuals such as Ms. Smith completely selling us out.
Thank you, Bonnie. So now we are going to take a 20-minute break and come back at 8:30. So get up, refresh yourselves, use the facilities, have conversations amongst yourself and enjoy. And we'll be back here promptly at 8:30. Well, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for returning. And I just want to send a shout out to all of those who are viewing on the live stream as well. Thank you for coming back after that break. And just for anyone who's not aware, the live stream will also be available for 48 hours. So if you have any friends, relatives, family, neighbors that you think would benefit from being able to see the forum, it will be available on the camrose.live website. All right, so again, just a reminder of the format. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each question. We will move to the next question. And again, you can or choose not to respond, but obviously we're not having that issue at all as we go forward. So the next question, we start with you, Ashley. Government accountability and democracy. So serious concerns have been raised regarding the fairness and effectiveness of Canada's electoral system. What is your position on electoral reform, and do you support transitioning away from the current first past the post model? If so, what alternative system would you advocate for?
So yes, I absolutely do believe we should move away from the first past the post system. It's been a part of the Green Party platform for decades now, I would say. For me personally, I've ran in a few elections. Everybody, like let's say everybody in this room, like if you're a representative of this riding, Damien got what, 84, 85%? So there's about 16% didn't vote for the Conservatives. Yeah, it's an amazing thing to get that many votes, but those 16% of you that didn't vote for him were ignored. You have no say for the next upwards of 4 years. So I believe we do need to reform the system so that people's votes actually matter. As for the type of system that I would implement, that would have to be studied, analyzed, look to see what the most fair and comprehensive system is so that everybody's vote can count as much as possible. We don't want to leave anybody out of the democratic process so they feel that their voice is ignored and people stop it.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Well, first of all, this longest ballot thing is a total scam and it must be stopped. I'm the only leader that this interest group seems to have targeted for some reason, and that I find interesting, but it is a total scam and there is no good public interest reason to do it. I think anybody should be allowed to run, but they should have to get unique signatures and they should have a unique financial agent. If you did that, you'd guarantee this would never happen again. God willing, if I have your support and I get to Parliament, I will put forward legislative changes to make sure that this never happens again anywhere in Canada. And speaking of accountability, we need to build on Stephen Harper's Accountability Act to crack down on the loopholes that Liberals, including Mark Carney, have exploited. We need to ensure that our leaders are working for you and not for their private profit. Thank you.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
My comments are similar on the longest ballot. I think it's been quite problematic, and I think especially people who have difficulty initially when the ballot was going to be very long in physical length would be just difficulty handling it. And now that it's different, it's going to be a pain and it confuses everything. And I do not think it has a place, but it is put together as part of our system. So I will just say I don't like it, and I would like that I think we should try and change it. As far as being a Canadian, and as far as our system and the workability in the world, I had the privilege as international president of the Society of Petroleum Engineers of traveling in that term of 3 years to 49 different countries. And my pride grew with every country because there are so many places that have systems that don't work, systems that are corrupt. So I stand here as a proud Canadian, and I'm proud of our Prime Minister, and I'm proud of our system, and it works generally, and I would love to
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah.
I have said many times that I think healthy protest is a good idea, but the way the longest ballot is going about it is not okay. You know, they've kind of hindered us here. And I do agree that we should have electoral reform. And I do agree with Ashley when saying that it is something that needs to be studied. It is something that we need to ensure that everybody is getting they feel like their voice is heard. And it's unfortunate that this is where we're at, but we're Albertans, we're tough. We can get over this. We can write a name. Nobody thinks we can, and I know we can. So please go find the name that you want. Please write it down. My last name is spelled Spanier. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
Electoral reform is exactly what the longest ballot wanted. So the fact that everybody here is talking about electoral reform means that their form of protest is in fact working. They actually didn't just start neither. They were doing this since 2021. So it's interesting, and they are targeting Pierre because he's, sorry, but almost a circus. Look at the stuff going on around him. They know it's going to cause an uprising, and they want people to speak out about it. So if that's what they're looking for, is that attention, that's exactly what you're giving them. So electoral reform, having that happen, shh, you're giving them what they want.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff.
Thank you. I misspoke earlier. I said there was a bill discussed in Parliament about proportional representation. Actually, it was a motion to talk about proportional representation, not a bill on the subject. And again, all but 3 Tory MPs and the Liberals voted against it. So first past the post works for the major parties, because of course they benefit from the system. They're not interested in looking at alternatives. If we had if we had proportional representation in this country, and a small party like the Christian Heritage Party ran 343 candidates across the country and got, say, 2% of the vote, we'd have 2% of the seats, and we'd have a voice in Parliament. You who care about the social issues that we are concerned about and other issues would have a voice in Parliament. And I think it would be a fine thing. And I am ashamed of the Tories and others who voted against it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant.
We need electoral reform. We need to tidy up the system. But the reality is, in Western Canada, even if we had the tightest voting system in the world, we have to recognize that Western Canada was set up as a colony of a colony. The disproportionality of senators and/or MP seats in this country, the way it was set up from 1867 forward through 1905, the establishment of Alberta and most of the Western provinces, has been to have us pay to make that system work, and neutralized by the imbalance in the electoral system. So we can talk about voting and ballots and making sure that Elections Canada reforms or at least does a review with vital statistics, so there's no voting cards going into old folks' homes, whatever. But we have to recognize that that isn't changing the constitutional lockdown of Western Canada, and you're going to continue to pay.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan.
I think electoral reform is long overdue in this country. Proportional representation might be a very good option. We'll have to study that a lot more. Sorry, I had a thought. There's a lot of pressure being up here sometimes, and you get thinking and then you talk about something else and forget it. But what it comes down to is we tend to see in a lot of ridings where people get 35% of the vote and they become the representative. So what happens to that other 65% of people in that area? I also see a lot of gatekeeping from the administration of a constituency office. People send in emails and they never get a reply back. I don't think that all of the MPs are trying not to skirt around people, but I do believe that MPs need to make sure that all the questions that come into them do get addressed.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie.
So once again, I noticed Monsieur Poiliev skirted the question. There, he said nothing on electoral reform and was angry at the longest ballot. Granted, we all are angry at the longest ballot, yeah? Yeah, I thought so. But no, it benefits, our current system benefit the two big parties. I very much want to see electoral reform. I am currently looking into proportional representation. I am emailing people. It is not on my platform as of yet because I don't know the ins and outs. We need it. You're not going to give it to us. Liberals aren't going to give it to us. We need it.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
First of all, I would like to point out a previous comment on the last panel that we had that Ashley admitted that healthcare workers would get paid more under a private system than our public system. So I just want to point that out. Number two, I refuse to give any more attention to the longest ballot people because honestly, they're doing this for attention. And this isn't a protest. They're asking for attention. If anybody knows any of those names on those ballots, I recognize for them. They're being supported by the Rhino Party of Canada. They're a joke. This isn't a protest. And in my opinion, for electoral reform, the Liberal government has been promising for over 10 years that they were going to offer us electoral reform and remove the first past the post system. I don't know where that's going. We're still stuck with it. And in my opinion, we need to focus and push towards a ranked ballot system. And that would be what I'd be fighting for. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. So this next question will start with you, Pierre. It's around agriculture and rural development. So how will you support farmers and rural communities in adapting to the growing impacts of climate change, such as droughts, wildfires, and extreme weather, while also promoting sustainable agricultural practices, rural infrastructure, and rural economic development?
Well, there's a lot in that question. Let's start with infrastructure. And I was very pleased to meet with the special areas, OIN and special areas representatives who are working on getting a direct train route that would allow produce to go through Camrose straight to the west coast rather than having to go all the way east to Saskatoon. Right now, farmers from the area have to add 600 kilometers of extra transit in the wrong direction in order to get to the west coast and ship to world markets. And I will hope to work with the region to try and get that short line track completed. I know that Damien has done great work on it. But we also need to do other things. We need to get rid of the Liberal regulations that are cracking down on our farmers, get rid of the industrial carbon tax that's driving up the cost of fertilizer in this country. We need to respect the firearms rights of our farmers and allow them to use.
Thank you, Pierre. Darcy.
Speaking of fertilizer, I dream of the day when fertilizer will be less than $1,200 a ton and canola will be more than $700 a ton. In fact, I'd like to switch them. My canola is going in the bin in the fall, Lord willing. I think it's looking good right now, and I want to make sure that when it hits the bin, that I get the best world price that I can. When I grew up, Dad had a wheat board ticket that we took every time we took a load of grain to the elevator, and Canada was known as a global superpower in cereals. We want to be back in a strong economy as a country where we can trade side to side and abroad and have strong leadership. I like the way things are moving with Prime Minister Carney talking about being the most growing economy in the G7. These are important to me as farmers. Clearly, we don't have farmers in the audience because they're booing about getting our product to market. I think it's time we have pipelines that sell our oil and gas and solid trading practices around the globe.
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah.
Economic development is exactly where an independent can help you guys. And like I said, you guys are my bosses here. I can go and I can take that funding, I can bring it back, and that funding is already in the budget. I don't want anybody to think I'm here wanting to raise taxes or anything. But we have the funding, we have the means, we have the people here in order to work on rural economic development. And you know, I kind of want you guys to be selfish here for a second. Think about, put yourself first and then Canada. We can build up Battle River Crowfoot first, and then we can help build up the rest of Canada. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
So before I get into agriculture, Ian would probably kill me if I didn't mention part of the electoral reform as sortition. So I'll leave it at that. You guys can look that up as an option. For agriculture, many of the farmers that I've gone out to speak to, they're not looking to be at a forum, and they're not looking to come out and speak. Most of them born and raised conservative. There's no changing that. They're going to be the way they are. But they did let me know some of the areas that they needed help. They're lacking in hands working on their farms. They're all coming together and working together, and they're aging, and they need people to come and help them. Immigration could help, you know. Trump's getting rid of all his people working on his agriculture. We'll take them, send them our way. We'll put them in our farms. They can help us.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff?
Farming is everybody's bread and butter. That is about as much I know about the subject, but personally. But carbon taxes drive up the cost of everything, including farming practices and so on, and the price of food. And the Tories were happy with $30 a ton on a carbon tax. So whereas the Liberals were recommending, or the NDP was recommending 50. The Liberals said they wouldn't go past that, but of course they went past it like it was standing still. But we need to, and another thing is the price of not just carbon, but nitrogen in the fertilizer. They're trying to restrict farmers, Liberals or governments are trying to restrict farmers' ability to grow crops, et cetera, et cetera. And all this needs to change. We need to eliminate, not just reduce carbon taxes to $30 a ton like the Liberals have, like.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant?
Well, this is a great conversation. You know what? We need to look at farmers in China and the tariffs that we're paying for canola and get those stripped down. But why can't we do that? Because this nation is riddled with foreign interference. David McGuinty in 2020 made a very clear report about that, ample evidence of severe and sustained foreign interference that's undermining our political process and democracy. Yet we have a leader of a political party here to my left who will not attain his clearance, security clearance. Hey, that's the truth. He won't attain his security clearance to actually tell you who the 11 MPs were that you were put in front of to vote. So would I get some more time for that, or is?
Yeah, so I'm going to say that you could have 15 more seconds.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, because we had 11 MPs in this federal election that were the direct agents of or under the influence of foreign interference, and you weren't told. And why can't we actually deal with foreign governments that are influencing us? Because our loyal opposition won't tell us. Thank you very much, Mr. Poilievre.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan?
We all know that a great deal of the money and the infrastructure and everything else in Western Canada has to do with farming. The amount of taxes that are being put on the fertilizer and CO2 is a little bit ridiculous. In fact, it's a lot ridiculous. Last I checked, CO2 is required for plant life. So if we're going to tax it to the death, we're going to have less plants growing instead of more. We have greenhouses that have to pay carbon tax because they put CO2 in there to make the tomatoes bigger. That carbon never gets outside of that plant except for inside of a tomato, but yet they have to pay taxes on it. The People's Party of Canada and I would see taxes reduced severely so that farmers have more money to put back into their farm and make it better.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie?
When I was running around, knocking on doors, did one quick tour of the riding, and then I'm taking my time going around again. One of the things that came up was agricultural innovation. Our successive federal governments, both parties, have sold off our innovation to big corporations. These corporations now charge our farmers royalties for seed or they will sue your neighbor if your seed blows over into his field. This has got to stop. I intend to fully stand up for my neighbors. And if you tell me that agricultural innovation is the private member's bill you want me to put forward, that's what I will do. Because this has to come back to you so you can continue to feed the entire country, because they seem to have forgotten that fact.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
Quick question. Do we have any history buffs in this room right now? Does anybody know anything about the Gauss plan by any chance in the Soviet Union? It was a plan of centralized economy that was regulating the Soviet Union. And we have our very own Gauss plan here in Canada called supply management. And it is limiting the amount of produce of milk, poultry, eggs, all of that, all of the above, every single month. And if you go over that quota, well, it's got to go in the garbage. I've been going around talking to a lot of farmers in Drumheller, Acme, and Three Hills, where they have to dump hundreds of liters of milk every single month because of this policy. I'm the only candidate that's on this stage saying that we need to end the policy of supply management now, not later. We need to end it now. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay. So the Green Party of Canada platform effectively states that, and as we all know, Canadians need good, healthy, nutritious food that isn't absurdly expensive, that makes it to the point that we can't feed our families. We have to choose which meals, who gets what meal, and what meal we have to skip, and so on. You know, the Green Plan is to strengthen agriculture and food security, and that is built on the idea that we must strengthen and increase local and regional food production. We need to give, you know, Bonnie touched on it with big corporations buying up large tracts of land. For me, family farms need to actually be run by families, not by a family that runs a corporation and they can claim that it's a family farm and get all these tax breaks and then screw over the small farmers. We need an actual system that serves the people, not these big corporations. We need to create regional food hubs that can better supply the people of this country.
Thank you, Ashley. So this will be our final question of the evening. And Darcy, we're going to start with you. So around education and workforce development, student loans are a giant financial burden to young Canadians, but education is required for even basic jobs. Given restrictions on international students and a lack of university funding, how will you ensure Canadians can access affordable, top-tier educations without drowning in debt?
Good question. We do have one of the best educational systems on earth, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm very proud to be a rural student of that educational system. A ragtag bunch of us would leave Three Hills Sunday night and head up to U of A, and we'd generally regroup at the end of the week and head back to Three Hills. There wasn't much support from us, and I think we've seen some tremendous movements over the last number of years. I think we need a federal government that supports education across the board. We need to support our institutions, even though I realize that in cases it's a provincial jurisdiction. We need to support skilled trades. With the Build Canada program, we need more tradespeople. We need competent tradespeople to be operators on oil and gas wells. We need to be educated at every level. And we have the best system. We need to keep and maintain the best system. Summer job programs, a federal responsibility. That has to keep going. So I think
Thank you, Darcy. Sarah.
We all know education is a provincial issue, but that doesn't mean that the federal government can't step in and do something. We know that Alberta education is kind of lacking a little bit compared to other provinces, but we can still pick that up, you know, and I believe that that would involve having more post-secondary institutions in rural areas so more people can access these type of things. And you know, we can run more programs to get people certificates that they need. We can kind of focus on some type of different repayment program for student loans that doesn't exactly hinder and kind of suffocate you. You should be rewarded for getting an education, not being stuck in debt for years and years after. And I think it's time that we just kind of revamp the whole system. And I think that there should be some type of federal accountability in that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Catherine.
So shout out to University of Alberta right here. I'm very, very educated, over educated. I don't know if there's a job out there that really needs all this education. But I had a point to prove, and I proved it, I guess, that I can make myself crazy. Um, anyways, with education, I feel like there are different obstacles in place for people that want to go to school, whether it be location, the amount of admitting students into the schools. There are 3 very well-off areas in this riding: Camrose, Three Hills, and Drumheller. And I'll say it's due to the post-secondary institutions that they house. It creates economic activity in the area. I think we need more.
Thank you, Catherine. Jeff?
I agree that we need more education, but if you have spent the last 4 years getting a degree in gender studies, I'm not responsible for that. Sorry, that's on you. Thank you. I don't know, not you. I'm not saying you personally, Catherine, anyone, but yeah, don't take me wrong. Anyways, yeah, education is important. I have a high school education, and I sell a book that I wrote, and the guy says, "What education do you have?" I said, "High school." I say that my pristine mind has not been polluted by our post-secondary institutions. Anyhow, it's my. I'm glad somebody appreciates that. But education is important. It's a shame that a person has to have a degree now to get a job in a factory in Winnipeg where they make cardboard boxes, but that is the reality today. A university degree has become what used to be a high school education. That has to change, and we need more training in the trades and so on and so on.
Thank you, Jeff. Grant?
Well, with regard to education, I think we need to look closely at what our universities are doing in terms of funding themselves with foreign students. It's contributing to the immigration problem, and we're not exactly even sure what happens after the educational visa requires. So it's intertwined. We need to get our country's tertiary, second and third level institutions back to actually the job creation that we need to develop the infrastructure that we have offshored in these last 40 years in terms of a globalist agenda for this nation. And we start building things, making things, smelting things, again, we will actually be the wealth, create the wealth that our parents and our grandparents knew. And I think the other thing that we need to do is once we stop that budget of income for all of the immigration issues that are feeding our institutions, then we can actually say, what is the plan? And we need to purge out this DEI woke agenda that's feeding.
Thank you, Grant. Jonathan?
I'd like to challenge the premise of the question. Do you actually need a university degree to get a good job? As a mechanic, I had a high school education. I went into an apprenticeship. 4 years later, I was making very good money, and I had no student debt to pay off. We have student counselors that are straight up lying to students, telling them that they have to go to university to make anything of themselves. And then they end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student debt that they can't pay back because they're getting a job that only pays sometimes 50, 70% of what I make as a mechanic. It just doesn't make sense. We need to educate people on finance and how money actually works in junior high and high school so that they can go out and make better decisions.
Thank you, Jonathan. Bonnie?
Well, as Ms. Spanier mentioned, education is provincial responsibility. I would like to see more barriers to students getting into trades, and I would like to see our trades go smoother as you move province to province. However, the one thing that I can touch as an independent in a minority government, I can start funneling the federal student work experience program back where it should be. This is what I have been told as I toured by various assorted town councilors and municipalities is our students, our youth don't have jobs. We need to have this work experience program, and we need to have these funds back into our community to give our youth the experience they need for the future.
Thank you, Bonnie. Michael.
First of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the University of Calgary and my fellow students that are watching this live stream. First of all, I just want to say, do not be fooled. The issues that we are facing in this province due to education are completely the result of our premier and the provincial government here in Alberta. We need to see more support for students. As a member and student of the University of Calgary, I see a lot of corruption in our student boards, for our teachers, and our professors, where they are taking massive bonuses every single year, which almost doubles their income, while students are struggling to get by and to be able to pay for their education. All the while, we have a government that is disavowing the ability for people to homeschool, for people to be able to learn their trades. And as Johnny was saying, we're pushing people that to get a good job, you have to go to university, when that is not true. Good paying jobs in this province are from trade jobs, not from university jobs. Let's get more people into trade jobs, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Ashley.
Okay, so for the Green Party, post-secondary education and the proper investment and the proper structuring of the programs is very important. We need to look at the jobs of the future, not the jobs of the past. We need to be training people, educating people to meet the demands of the future. I know that people denigrate a gender studies degree, a history degree, woke culture, commie dictators running the student unions, extra blah, 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 blah. But people go there for an education. They don't go there to get a massive debt. Like when I left university in, 2005, I had $40,000 in debt. It took me so long to pay that down, never even actually finished paying it off. To be honest, it took so long that the amortization period lapsed and the federal government seized it, and this sits as a debt today that I still can pay off. But people are getting even more and more and more in debt for degrees that they can't actually use in the job.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
Bluntly speaking, this generation of youth has been totally screwed like never before. Start with their wages. The government's bringing in unprecedented numbers of low-wage temporary foreign workers, taking away the retail, accommodation, and restaurant jobs that normally paid the tuition of our youth. That has to stop. We have to cut back on that. Secondly, our universities are not equipping people with the right skills. I got a university education, U of C, it was great. But I'll tell you what we need is more emphasis on the trades. We need more of the people who can make stuff, move stuff, fix stuff, and move stuff. And we need to shift more of our resources to making it possible for our young people to sign on to the trades. And finally, we need to remove the red tape and the taxes to build homes that our young people can actually afford, so that when they graduate with student debt, they can still afford to buy a home and start a family and build a Canadian.
Thank you, Pierre. So now I would like to say thank you to all of the candidates and the audience for that engaging question period. So now we're going to go to 2-minute closing remarks, and we're going to go in reverse speaking order. So I would like to invite the candidates again to provide a 2-minute closing statement, and we'll start with you, Jeff.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, my opening statement, I explained how the Tories and Liberals have been working together for decades to bring us to our current state of affairs. This, of course, includes society's embrace of the culture of death, in which we abort our future, indoctrinate and sexually mutilate our youth, and euthanize our past. Now, many of you will be familiar with the parable of the Good Samaritan. In it, there's a wounded man in a ditch who had an unfortunate encounter with some robbers, and the upstanding religious people of his day walked right by him. Thankfully for him, a Samaritan with a functioning conscience stopped and gave him some help. Now, that man in the ditch today isn't a man. He's a boy who's had it drilled into his head since his first day of school that he might be a girl, or maybe he's one of the 2,000 young girls in this country who've had their breasts removed after years of said indoctrination. Or maybe he's the little old lady sitting alone in a hospital bed, hoping the doctor who just walked into the room with a needle in his hand isn't there to prematurely send her to her final reward. Well, folks, those are the people in that ditch today. And you have an opportunity to be that good Samaritan for all of them by sending the first Christian Heritage Party member of parliament to Ottawa. If you do, it will awaken millions of Canadians to the existence of the CHP. Some good pro-life Tory MPs will probably cross the floor to it, and God willing, will run a full slate of candidates in the next general election, making that election a de facto referendum on these and many other issues on which you until now had no say. The choice is yours. My name is Jeff Willerton. It's an honor to represent the Christian Heritage Party of Canada and be able to offer you not a slight deviation in policy, but a 180-degree change of course on these many and serious issues. And when you're on the wrong road, moving in the wrong direction, it's precisely what you need. And thus I believe that the party that I represent is exactly what the doctor ordered, and I ask for your vote. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you, Jeff. Catherine.
Thank you all so much for coming out and showing us your very, very enthusiastic behaviors, both for and against. You know, it lets us know we do live in a democracy. We're not in some kind of crazy authoritarian regime. We are allowed to have different viewpoints. And although we might not always agree on everything, I think everybody here has the mindset that we want to make things better. I didn't hear anybody saying anything about making things, well, I don't know, making things worse. And I just want to bring a voice of reason to the table. Again, I understand this is a losing run for me, and that's fine. I've been doing this for 10 years, right, Sorensen? Yes, but I'll still be here. I'll still be here advocating for issues, again, that are otherwise ignored by the government. I'm here to fight. I'm here to advocate. In my last run, I will say I was lucky enough to have a number of things brought forward to the Liberal platform. They stole from my platform right here in Battle River Crowfoot, like an inquiry on missing and murdered Indigenous women. They actually did that. Like the clean drinking water, they actually moved forward. Not that successful, but they did move forward on that. And the navigable waters protection, you know, we were able to reverse some of the lost protections there. So even though I lost, I still won. I still got things to the table, and I still got things successfully moved forward. So I'm looking forward to doing that again in this run. I'll be here to meet you all again. I'm not trying to sway you, I get it, but bring your issues to me and I'll bring them to the forefront. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Sarah.
So I also want to say thank you to everybody and for everybody here. This has been absolutely amazing. This is my first time, so this has been really fun. I enjoyed this, but being an independent, you know, I get it. It's scary. You make a choice for an independent. You are taking a risk, but I have shown up and I can show that I can listen and I can show that I can be here for you. You know, I have had people just berate me online, berate me at the door. That's fine. It's okay. I'm still going to sit here and show up for you guys. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen. And you guys, with an independent, you guys have a shot at deciding how Canada goes forward. You know, this riding could be the determining factor for what passes bills and what doesn't. This vote and your guys' leverage and your guys' voice is more important now than ever before. And that's something that somebody in a party is not going to be able to do for you. I am somebody who is here for you. I've said it before, you guys are my boss, nobody else. There's no middleman here. And I want to fight for you guys. I can sit there, I can pull numbers, I can pull funding, I can show you guys on paper where the numbers are, what I can do for you guys. And I really hope that over these next 3 weeks that you guys can listen and we can engage, and I am more than happy to listen to you guys. And when it comes down to it, I really just want to help you guys because I have experienced that same hospitality from many people in this riding, and I would like to return that favor. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Darcy.
Thank you again to the organizers. Thank you, the fellow participants. It's been eye-opening for me. I'm a bit of a neophyte in politics. My name is Darcy Spady. I'm from Three Hills, and I do not want to be Prime Minister. I would actually really like to represent you in Ottawa on the government benches as a member of parliament. I've had the privilege in my technical career of testifying before common subcommittees and Senate committees, and I know that behind all the theatrics, and I have a 20-year veteran beside me here, behind all the theatrics, things really get done. Policy gets made, people get heard. I think I'm a person, and I've been heard at least twice. So I really am interested in being part of the process for this riding. This is my home. This has been my family home for 100 years. And frankly, I would love to represent you. We are the best in the world. Our energy production, the people, the women and men every day who are out there in the fields, in the CBM fields, just south of here, they're the best in the world. I know it, I've seen it. They are making the energy transition happening. Carbon pricing is financing efficiency devices on wellheads. We are world leaders. I know this. I've worked there. Our farmers are the best. Our crop outputs are the best. We need more plants. We need more why are we shipping our durum to Italy for pasta? Why don't we do it right here in Battle River Crowfoot? Why don't we build and broaden our infrastructure system, both highways and pipelines, to move oil and gas equipment north and south? We are the best, and I would love to be your local representative in government in Ottawa on August 18th. Please vote Darcy Spady.
Thank you, Darcy. Pierre.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates on the stage. I think it's been a great debate. What do you think? A great conversation, and it's not even over yet. And I want to thank all of you. And most importantly, in addition to the great Damien Couric, who's mentoring me and teaching me every day things I didn't know. He tells me, I'm not a farmer, but he tells me if I were that I'd be outstanding in my field. And his mentor, Kevin Sorensen, my longstanding friend who served you. You've had great representation here. And thank you to all the people of Battle River Crowfoot. I want to tell you, it's been a privilege to get to know you better. And I have to say, it's been a lot of fun. It's been great fun to be on the ranches and the farms, to be out at the rodeos and the bronc matches, and even to whirl around a little bit in Riley on the four-wheeler. I might still get a ticket at some point for that. But, my mission here is to give national leadership to the issues that are of local importance. For example, reversing that EV mandate to allow you to drive your truck, that is a local issue. And it will take national leadership to overturn it the way I overturned the carbon tax. Your right to protect and keep your firearms, that is a local issue if you're a hunter in Empress or Trochu or Consort. Cutting taxes, or for example, letting our farmers have zero capital gains when they reinvest the proceeds in our communities, that is a local issue. Reforming our prisons so that our guards down in Drumheller are safe, that's a local issue that requires national leadership. Fighting against the Chinese tariffs on our canola, that is a local issue. These local issues require strong national leadership, and it would be the privilege of my life to provide both the local representation and the national leadership to the community.
Thank you, Pierre. Ashley.
Okay, thank you for that.
All right, Ashley.
All right, well, thank you everybody for coming out tonight. I think we all know this is Pierre's riding to lose here. He's definitely going to win. So please take a chance. Vote your conscience. Don't be swayed by fear of, a Liberal MP from your area or an NDP MP for your area or an independent or so on. Vote your conscience. Vote however you want to vote. My name is Ashley McDonald, like the restaurant, like I said earlier, so it's easy to remember. I'm sure they'll accept an MC instead of an MAC, so But, you know, a lot's been said about how the benefits of an independent MP from this riding would be, you know, like not swayed, not whipped by a party. The Green Party is one of those federal parties that are an unwhipped party. So you could elect a Green MP in any riding across this country, and they will be able to vote their conscience, vote how they feel, and not be told by central authority and what they're supposed to do and how they're supposed to vote. So your vote is safe when given to a Green MP. They're not going to be swayed by some special interest somewhere. So keep that in mind. Feel free to protest in my favor, you know. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight again. Thank you for the chamber for having this. And thank you for, well, actually, I would like to say I'm a little disappointed in Pierre. I tried to get everybody to do a drinking game backstage where we would all take a drink of water when he said woke, and he's not once said it. So it's really kind of disappointing to me. I was really looking forward to this. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ashley. Michael.
I'd first of all like to thank the Chamber of Commerce for inviting me out to this debate. There's not too many times that libertarians are invited to these type of things, but when we do get invited, we come swinging like a hammer, as I always like to say. And I've been out here, if you guys don't know me, my name is Michael Harris. I've been out here since May knocking on doors. I've knocked on a couple thousand doors on this ride, and I've been hearing the issues of this ride. And people might be disagreeing with me. People might not be even wanting even to vote for me. But at the end of the day, I want to hear the issues of every single person in this riding so I can best represent you. Now, if you believe that the government and the Uni Party has taken advantage of you, has taken every cent out of your pocket, and that you feel that you can't get by day to day, and if you want to see lower taxes, lower regulation, an end to supply management, an end to equalization, and the right to self-determination here in Alberta, then I ask that you support me, Michael Harris, Libertarian, for liberty, family, and independence. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Bonnie.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Bonnie Critchley. I just want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, our moderator, all the candidates for coming out and stepping up, and all of you folks for at least coming out and making some noise. What I would like to say is that this is our home, this is our riding, and while we're sitting back in the back, I believe it was Jonathan and Darcy and I were discussing a certain old folks' home that we all know because we live here. Out of curiosity, who here can vote? Yeah, that's kind of my point. We live here. This is our home. And we sure as heck don't want to be doing this again in January now, do we? So I have no personal aspirations. I'll say it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I don't want to do this. I was enjoying my retirement from the military. But it is important to me that we have a voice in Parliament. I firmly believe that Monsieur Poilievre is too busy with his own personal ambitions to give a rat's backside about us. And with him facing leadership review in January, are we doing this again in February? So, my name is Bonnie Critchley. I am not here for any personal aspirations. I am here for you. I am here for my neighbors. I am here for all of our communities. Together, we can make our mark on the map, and we can stand up for ourselves.
Thank you, Bonnie. Jonathan.
Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event. Thank you to Camrose for coming out to see it, and the rest of Battle River Crowfoot for tuning in. With the People's Party, we do not have a party whip either. So your voice would be heard by myself and taken to Ottawa, and I would vote according to what my conscience is and according to what what my constituents ask me to do. So many things go through my head. Sorry. As you might tell, I'm not someone who has prepared a bunch of speeches in my life. I've been working as a mechanic all of my life since I got out of high school. But I do believe that I can resonate very well with most of the people in this area, if not all of you. I can find common ground. I would absolutely love to take your voice to Ottawa and represent you with accountability and openness. So, sorry, I can't think of anything else to say at the moment, so I'll just end with this. I think it's time to put a commoner in the House of Commons.
Thank you, Jonathan. Grant.
Yes, my name's Grant Abraham. I'm a leader of the United Party of Canada. We ran candidates across this country, and I'll tell you this, there's Canadians all across this country like you who know that this country is broken and that we're not being told the truth about what's actually going on in our nation. We don't understand what our national debt is. We just had a throne speech that has approved our country operating without a budget. The Conservatives contributed that by not opposing it. I'm fed up with this discussion in our nation where we don't actually know where we are. And here's the thing that we really need to look at. Justin Trudeau told us that we would be a post-nation state. That means a state controlled by something other than what we elect. He told us that COVID would provide us with a reset. We understand that we're overrun by foreign interference. And in the last 3 leadership races and 3 federal elections, when have you heard a Conservative MP say, excuse me, Mr. Trudeau, or excuse me, Mr. Carney, can you tell us what you mean by post-nationalism or what you mean by a reset? We are losing our country. Canadians across this country ask me, what has happened to our country? Where has our country gone? And my commitment to you is to answer that question, to tell you the truth. Because what you're getting here is a bunch of narrative about symptoms without looking at the real problems in our nation, the real root issues. And it troubles me actually that we have to actually break this down in a debate like this because people aren't thinking. And so I'll tell you what, for this country to actually move forward, we have to look at what's happening. The Liberal government is betraying this nation, and the Conservative Party has continued to enable it by omission. I'm going to tell you the truth, and we're going to start with fixing Alberta and setting it up.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you, Grant. So first, I would really like to thank all of the candidates for participating in this forum. It takes a lot of personal commitment to put your name forward to represent your constituency. So you should all be congratulated, and thanks for participating. I'd also like to thank you, the audience, as well, for taking the time to come out and be informed and hear what our candidates' platforms are speaking to in terms of your voting. And so respectful dialogue in forums like these are critical to a healthy democracy. And I'd also like to thank the Camrose and District Chamber, their volunteers and staff for coordinating this forum for the community. You have an incredible chamber, and that speaks to the strength of the local business community here. So congratulations for that. So for members of the business community here this evening, I encourage you to engage with your Chamber of Commerce. They're a strong voice at the local, provincial, and federal levels. And of course, please remember to vote on Election Day on August 18th. I would like to now invite back up to the stage Jennifer Fossen, President of the Camrose and District Chamber of Commerce, to say a few final words. Jennifer.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. On behalf of the Camrose and District Chamber of Commerce, I want to extend our sincere thanks to each and every one of you for joining us tonight for this important by-election candidate forum. To the candidates, thank you for stepping forward to serve and for sharing your vision with honesty and conviction. It takes commitment, courage, and a deep care for community to put your name on a ballot. We recognize the work that goes into being here this evening. To our moderator, Shauna, thank you for your thoughtful leadership in guiding tonight's discussions. I also wanted to take this opportunity to thank the Camrose and District Chamber of Commerce staff who were able to pull this event together. Aaron and Shauna, thank you. Your hard work was definitely noted tonight. I also wanted to take the opportunity to thank the Jeanne and Peter Lougheed Performing Arts Center's staff and everybody else who came together to make this event so successful this evening. So I'd just like to take this moment for a round of applause for everybody involved. Tonight, we reinforce what Chamber stands for: a nonpartisan space for civic dialogue, a platform for the voice of business and community, a commitment to helping you make informed and confident choices. As we conclude this evening's forum, we do invite you to make your way out of the theater. The lobby will remain open until 10 p.m. for anyone wishing to pick up additional information about any of the candidates, but we do need you to leave the theater and socialize and get information out in the lobby. Thank you again for being here and for contributing to the strength of our democracy, our region, and our future. Good night and safe travels home to each and every one of you.